Monday morning at the Conservative Party conference, Mark Harper announced a plan for drivers. And as I've just said, I think most of you will have heard, this is very much about trying to redress the balance in policy terms slightly to maybe undo some of the extremes of policy recently around how we consider driving and motorists and use of road vehicles. And the government are keen to try and redress the balance slightly. So there's a whole range of measures in there. Measures that look at things such as local PCN, local penalty charge notice, revenue, how local authorities manage bus lanes and manage local roadworks and think about lane rental. Think about how we think about box junctions and some of the areas of enforcement that local authorities do. Lots of measures in there, but there's one particular set of measures in a chapter called Smoother Journeys, and there's a series of things we're thinking about how do we make journeys smoother. And one of the things that we've included in that chapter, one of the very significant things, is quite a lot of funding to allow us to use traffic signals to make journeys smoother. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that now. And when the slides are circulated, you'll be able to read that section in quotes there. I'm not going to read it to you, but this is the government policy that was announced on Monday, and it says some really important things about traffic signals and acknowledges, maybe in a way that government hasn't for an awfully long time, it acknowledges the importance of traffic signals in managing local road traffic and in providing a real immediate benefit to journeys and making journeys faster, more reliable, smoother. Traffic signals are absolutely crucial to how we do that. So this all builds on some work that many of you will be aware of, that some funding that we issued in 2021. We issued something called the Traffic Signals Maintenance, or TSM Grant, and we issued £15 million to local authorities. And we ran a process to do that. And there were two important but slightly separate details about the £15 million that we issued in 2021. And the first thing to say is it was extremely successful. It was the first time we'd ever issued a particular grant, a specific grant for local traffic signal maintenance. And it was designed to allow authorities to have some funding to address the backlog in traffic signal maintenance that we all know exists, and we all know is a problem, and is getting worse, and the ability of authorities to spend money on traffic signals, to have the revenue to do that, is becoming a bigger problem, and we see that having an impact on local traffic. We gave money to 39 authorities through that grant. We gave a number of authorities £500,000 grants, and we gave a number of authorities £250,000 grants, and that allowed us to spread that money between 39 different authorities. I'll say there are two important elements to this investment that have worked in favour of us now. That money we issued paid for 232-ish, slightly more than that, 232-ish schemes to be delivered on the ground. And that's a really powerful message in that really shows that the sector, the local authorities, the installers, the suppliers were able to mobilise and deliver a really high number of high-quality schemes. The money was spent on the thing that we promised we would spend it on. And we used the Transport Technology Forum, and we used LCRIG to support us in doing that. And we developed a very simple challenge process that didn't ask lots of detailed questions about how many red lamps you've got and how many poles you have and all that. We didn't send out a 57-page questionnaire. We asked authorities 7 fairly simple challenge questions that try to understand each authority's view of technology, how it saw technology in policy delivery, how it saw technology in terms of the future, what its view of technology and active travel and supporting the network and supporting transport services was. We asked 7 questions that allowed us to get a feel for the authority's capabilities, understanding of technology and its readiness to deliver schemes, rather than diving into the minutiae of what you actually had. So that allowed us to make a very sort of qualitative set of awards based on the likely quality of outcome rather than a kind of bean counting quantitative approach. That's very important because that proved to people in the department, it proved to people in Treasury and elsewhere in government that mechanism would work, that we'd built a mechanism that clearly could deliver good quality bids, good quality scheme, good quality delivery, and would actually spend the money on the things that we said it would spend on. And that's not always the case in government. We don't always manage to do that. And certainly handing out money to so many different authorities and expecting so many different schemes to be delivered was always risky, but we proved we could do that. But the real headline was that across that all the schemes that you delivered, the 232 schemes, in the background using floating vehicle data from INRIX and using a tool called Signal Analytics that we built a few years ago with INRIX, we were able to remotely analyse junctions, journey times, journey speeds across junctions before and after schemes were implemented. And we saw on average 8 to 12% reduction in journey times. Well, that's amazing. What's not to like about that? What else can we do to the local road network now, immediately, today, that will have that level of impact on journeys? Now, if that isn't a measure that supports better motoring, better driving, better use of the network, and all sorts of other benefits around reduced emissions, reduced carbon, all sorts of other things, then I don't know what else we could do that would be better than that. So we proved two things with that fund. We proved we could do it, we proved we could build a mechanism, deliver money, deliver schemes, and we proved not only that, but we proved that once we'd done that, there is a real impact on people's lives. There is a real impact on the road network. So that was great. And we had the opportunity for some additional funding this year. There always was likely to be some funding this year, but then in the summer, the development of the plan for drivers came along, and that gave us an opportunity to think a bit bigger. So we now have £70 million to divide among local authorities. 70 million, not 15, 70 million in 3 separate funds. Now, I stand to be corrected, and I've been involved in traffic signals since about the early 90s, and I remember the UTMC development programme in sort of 95 to 2000 and something, and that was a few million, and that was by far the biggest investment government had made in local traffic technology. This is at least 3 times the size of that. This is, as far as I can work out, easily the biggest investment the government's ever made in local traffic signalling and local traffic control. So it's a huge opportunity for the sector. And before I go on to explain some of the details of this, I just want to really acknowledge the work that you all did as suppliers and local authorities to deliver that last money. And the number of you that have spoken to me over the last year, I've been on the road for most of last year talking to suppliers, talking to authorities, getting a gauge of the scale of the problems we have, getting an understanding of what money we need to spend. And many of you have shared your information, your research and your time with me to allow me to build that picture and allow me to build a case for going back into government to get funding. So thank you all for doing that. That's been really valuable, and as you can see, it's paid off. The gamble worked, we've got the money. So what we're doing, £70 million. This will be made available to authorities this year. It's upfront funding. We will run the process similar to the one we ran in 2021 for TSM, a simple qualitative process where we ask you some simple questions about delivery and understanding of policy, and we base bids around that. And we will get the money out of the door this year. Some of the money will come as an addition to your grant determination letters. You all get Section 31 grant determination letters if you're a local authority that tell you how much highway maintenance funding you're getting. Some of the money will come as an addition to that. Some of it will be separate, but it will all be paid up front to local authorities this year. It's to be spent over the coming 2 years. So starting in April 24, finishing in March 2026. That's the time frame that we want that money to be spent in. And it's available to English local authorities outside of London. If you're a local authority and you're not one of those, sorry, but that's who this is aimed at. We can't really fund schemes in Scotland and Wales because when the transport is a devolved function, London has its own funding mechanism, so this is about English authorities outside of London. And this is capital money issued up front. It's not revenue support, it's capital money to go off and build things. Now, a challenge that I often hear is we need more revenue to maintain stuff. Unfortunately, we can't provide revenue. That's very difficult to do. What I would say is this is an opportunity for you to invest in technology that reduces your revenue overheads. Invest in new technology, invest in better ways of using technology, invest in things that potentially allow you to reduce the revenue burden of the equipment you have. So there's a real opportunity to do that. So the £70 million is broken into 3 funds, and they're all aimed at doing a slightly different thing. And because I work in government and because I'm an engineer, we need some meaningless phrases. So we have TSOG, GLF, and ITMF. So to go through those in order, traffic signal obsolescence grant. This is about dealing with obsolete equipment. This is about dealing with replacing halogens. This is about dealing with obsolete comms, 2 and 3G comms, signals that are still connected to the PSTN network, signals that are still using components that are no longer available. We know there's a lot of that out there. We know a lot of authorities have made really good progress with this, but we know there's a long way to go. And we know that certainly for things like halogen, at the current rate of of conversion, the supply of halogen lamps will have run out long before we're finished converting to LED. That can't happen. This funding is to allow us to accelerate the rate at which authorities can remove obsolete equipment from on street. That's a really important issue because not only does that get us newer, more efficient signals, it also avoids that cliff edge of stuff going off, us losing comms, us losing ability to run signals. So it's really important to the national asset that we get on and deliver that. And there's £30 million allocated out of the wider highways maintenance block. So this is money that we've segregated within the spend that Matt Eglinton looks after in local roads around highway maintenance. This is a segregated fund for that. The second fund is GLF, Green Light Fund. This is a little bit like this traffic signals version of the pothole fund. This is about immediate fixes to general traffic signal maintenance. And this very much builds on that great success we had with TSM, that 8 to 12% reduction in journey times. This is £20 million to be distributed around authorities to say, this will allow you to do better maintenance, to do basic maintenance, to fix stuff that's broken. Not the obsolescence, because there's other money for that, but just general better maintenance. And we know there's an issue with that. We know that from the take-up last time, we know that giving authorities money, we will deliver. People will deliver better schemes. They will deliver improvements. And there's £20 million to do that. And then the really new part is the final £20 million grant, which is the Intelligent Traffic Management Fund. And this is about a smaller number of authorities getting a larger amount of money to implement next generation traffic management. Now, I know we have UNEX in the room, and I know they are starting to see some success selling Fusion, which is the kind of thing we're talking about. Technology that uses modern, emerging technologies to deliver better network optimization. You know, Scooty is great, Mover is great. They are great technologies, but they're fundamentally old. They're fundamentally based on very old technology, and they work well, but there are so many more opportunities we could take by using new technology. And obviously, Stuart's going to talk about some very new technology around quantum after me, but there are lots of opportunities we can take. And there are products on the market. There are a number of companies that are offering optimization solutions, ways of dealing with data, ways of modeling. They're doing that. But quite rightly, they're finding it a hard sell because what they're selling is quite risky, and it's quite hard for local authorities to make the investment in new technology. So we intend to award somewhere around 8, 10, maybe slightly more grants. And out of 20 million, that means you'll get quite a large grant to deliver next generation traffic management, to deliver next generation corridor or network optimization, using the technologies that we are now seeing coming to market. There's an opportunity there to do that. So how will all this be allocated? Well, of the £30 million that we hand out for obsolescence, every authority in England that currently gets a highway maintenance allocation will get a share of £10 million. That will be issued as of right. Everybody will get something to start to tackle issues. Now, that means that some of the authorities that don't really have a lot still to do, and there are authorities that have made great progress in removing obsolete equipment, they will still get a sliver of money to go off and complete things that need completing. But the other £20 million and the £20 million that we give out for the Green Light Fund, they will both be challenge processes, very similar to the challenge process that we completed in 21 for traffic signal maintenance. And we will ask you to tell us how you will spend that money to improve traffic signals, to ensure that traffic signals play the correct role that they should in policy development and delivering better transport services and being ready for the future and all those other things. And the challenge process will allow us to do that. Two funds of £40 million awarded in £500,000 lots means that a lot of authorities will benefit from that. There's a lot of money there that can be spread much more widely than the £15 million we allocated in 21 could be. And if you receive money in 21, that doesn't make you ineligible for these funds. You can still apply. We've not decided the details yet, but it will probably be the case that if you get money for the obsolescence fund, you probably won't get money for Green Light Fund as well. We want to share these out equally. So if you have a big problem with obsolescence, we may well fund that. If you don't have a big problem with obsolescence, but you still have equipment that needs maintaining, you may get money out of the Green Light Fund. But I don't think many people or anyone will get both. But that means a lot of authorities will get funding to deliver improvements. And finally, there will be a separate challenge process that will be a little bit more detailed and a little bit more probing into authorities that want to bid for larger chunks of money to deliver network-wide optimization, to use next-generation emerging technologies to deliver more widely on technologies that we're starting to see now. And we expect to fund fewer of those, but with that pot of money, it means they will get larger grants, and the expectation is they will go off and deliver network-wide improvements. That's the process that we're going to use. The timescales are still kind of emerging. We know that the end of March is a deadline because that's when the money needs to be spent, and we're now in the start of October. I wish it was August to give us more time, but we're now in October, so we have a limited period of time to do this. So it's likely that there will be a write around to all your chief executives in the next few weeks to tell you in more detail that this funding is coming. The challenge processes will then probably run from mid-November to the end of December. So in that period, you will have a time to get the challenge questions, to put your responses together, to think about how you want to respond, how you want to collate your understanding of policy in your authority, and tell us and put that in, and that will be by Christmas. And as in the past, that will use the TTF website. That will be an online process where you use a section of the TTF website for your authority to enter the details and supply them to us. That will then allow us January and February next year to sort out the money, to work out the award process, to send out the determination letters, to get the money into your bank accounts or your offshore account in the Seychelles, if that's what you want to do with it. But we'll be able to do that in the first part of the new year. So by the end of March, the money will be with you, and we'll have finished the process of getting you to sign for it and getting your 151 officer to sign that it will be properly audited. The money's yours, you can then spend it. You have then 2 years to spend the money, and during that 2 years, 2 important things will happen. The website, the TTF website, your space on the TTF website will be there for you to update your program. So as we're going, we can see how you're delivering. We can give real confidence into government and through forums like this that money's been spent, schemes have been delivered, we can see how that's going. So you will be heavily encouraged to support the TTF website and use that to update us with progress. We will also be forming some form of group. Now, I know there are lots of groups already around traffic managers and other areas, but specifically under the aegis of the TTF, we'll be forming a group of those that are involved in this and those that want to learn from it. And that's very much about ensuring we get maximum knowledge transfer, maximum learning, maximum sharing of experience and understanding between the authorities that are delivering it. Because one of the benefits of this isn't just better traffic signal equipment on the ground at the end of this. One of the benefits is better understanding in the sector of what's possible, what can be done, what works, what doesn't work, how you procure, what pitfalls to avoid. This is exactly the sort of learning we want out of this. We end up with a better, more knowledgeable sector at the end of it. And that has the benefit that it potentially makes it easier for me and others working in the government to get more money in the future. We've already proved with the success of the £15 million that we can use that as a case for arguing for more money. Successful delivery of this means there is an opportunity to make the arguments to continue to do that. And there's no guarantee, but wouldn't it be great if we could? You know, we fund bridge maintenance every year. We fund flood alleviation every year. Why not fund traffic signals every year? They're not going away. The problem's still there. This allows us to get to the point where we can maybe make that case. So again, just to recap, 3 funds, 1 around obsolescence, 1 around green light fund, which is around general tuning up of traffic lights. And that's how we've sold it to ministers, tuning up traffic lights. Now, as a traffic signal engineer, every time I say traffic lights, I die a little bit inside. But we have to accept that the public and ministers, they are traffic lights. Tuning up traffic lights is a great little mnemonic to get people to understand exactly what we're trying to do here. That's what GLF is for. And then the Intelligent Traffic Management Fund, which is about larger scale optimization of networks, replacing the types of optimization technologies we use now with new technology, allowing authorities to be a little bit braver and experiment with some of the really innovative technologies that are on the market now, allowing authorities to build systems that don't require quite as much infrastructure in the road, that are as expensive to maintain, allowing things to use new data sources and do things in different ways. Those are the 3 funds. So take all that away and think about it. Now, I'm actually slightly over-cabled up here. I'm wearing 2 mics and I'm being filmed on about 3 different cameras because as well as the main recording that's happening for the session that will be available, Paul here is also recording me specifically, and the video of me standing here and rambling at you will be available on the TTF website by tonight. So you can go back and look at it, think a bit more about the process I've outlined, think a bit more about how you get ready for that. So by tomorrow, this will be available on the TTF website for you to go and look at. And lastly, in other news, this isn't the only money we're spending. This isn't the only success we've had in getting money out of government. We are doing quite well at the moment. We still have a number of projects running through the TTF that may be of interest to you. The first thing I would say is that the TTF, if you're not involved, please get involved. Not least because it allows you to access £70 million of funding, but also because it's a great place to come to understand what we're doing, what government's doing, and what you can get involved in. Our next event is on the 14th of November in Birmingham. There are still places available for that. We would love to have you along there. And what we'll be doing there, and what we'll be doing at our conference in April, our yearly conference, is talking about some of the things on the screen here. So the Manual for Smart Streets is something we launched last year. And we talked about this yesterday. We talked about this in terms of EDI and how it's an approach to allow you to think about service delivery and think about how you construct a technology solution, how you design, procure, deliver a technology solution to deliver policy outcomes. The Manual for Smart Streets is there to guide you through how you do that. Now, that's important for a lot of the things we've talked about today and yesterday. It's particularly important for how you deliver this funding we've been talking about now in a sensible, sustainable, efficient way. So that's important. And we have money for that. We will be developing that through this year. We'll be thinking about more use cases, thinking about developing the website and how that works, making it easier and more widely available to use, and promoting it, because it really is an important tool in how we deliver technology. DSIS is equally important. DSIS is the Digital Controller Information Standard. This is about moving to a digital format for how we describe traffic signal controller logic, moving away from the forms that we traditionally have on paper stuck in a pocket at the back of the controller or on a PDF file, moving to a machine-readable digital format for describing traffic signals. I think this is very important in the longer term, because this is how services such as Green Light Advice, Glosser will work. It's how we will describe signals to connected autonomous vehicles. In the nearer term, it's about making maintenance and asset management more efficient, because it's about giving authorities a way of describing their signals in a form that anyone can download, whether it's suppliers, maintainers, whatever. It should make life easier than the current process. And DSIS is developing it. The section of DSIS which is thinking about a national numbering scheme for signals is nearly there. And actually, as you bid for funding, we may well ask you to participate in developing DSIS and allowing us to apply a national numbering layer to your signal asset. So we have that on top of your local numbering layers. Some of these elements will be part of the funding requirement. We're also doing work around connected vehicles. We have a £300,000 budget to think about how connected vehicle services, in-vehicle messaging, warning of roadworks, warning of blue light vehicles, some of the other services that we should be able to provide in vehicles now because the technology is there. We have some funding to start to trial and pilot those and show people what connected vehicle services could look like. We've done some work already. We did an event at the UTAC Millbrook Test Ground last year, which some of you came to. We have another event at Millbrook coming up in October. And then leading on from that, with the £300,000, we want to move on street and find some candidate authorities that are willing to help us develop on-street uses of in-vehicle connected technology. And we're also doing some work around developing e-call as well, the emergency call system that all new vehicles have that is currently used across Europe to bring emergency services to stranded and vehicles in distress. That has a lot of potential, and we're going to put some funding into developing that. And again, we'll find out more about that, and there will be an opportunity to be involved in that. And I'm also through TTF able to support some of the groups that are really important to the sector. So the UTMC Development Group, the group that owns and develops the basic UTMC standards that much of our on-street and in-station equipment is connected by. Those standards will need to continue to develop, certainly in light of what I've been speaking about this afternoon. We will continue to support that. We'll continue to support ITS UK, a very important group to the sector, a very important trade and advocacy organisation for the sector. We will continue to help to support that. And Topaz as well. Some of you may well be aware of Topaz and ARTSM. I've missed off there, but should be on there as well. Groups that bring together signals engineers, signal suppliers, people in the sector, people who are involved in selling the type of stuff I've been describing. We will be continuing to support their work because their work is essential to ensure we actually have an industry there to be able to buy things from when we give out money. So those types of things are all underway in the background. Please come along to our events. Please use the TTF website. You'll find a lot more about that activity. Right. That's pretty much it, really. So we'll be writing to you all shortly if you are eligible for the funding. The funding process, the bidding process, the award of the money, the monitoring of the money, the reporting on outturn and spend and everything will be managed through the TTF, through the TTF website. Eligible authorities will be getting guidance fairly soon on how to access the particular area where you will do that. That's how the process will run. It's important that you know that. And this will all be supported, as it has been in the past, it will be supported with an unbelievable level of efficiency and creativity by LCRIG, because everything we do is. So thank you.